Ya guys, so just the other day I received a bunch of brushes from Rephr, and I looked at them and I thought, I think I already have these brushes. I'm going to have to go through my brushes and see what's going on. How many times can I say brushes in one sentence? Apparently many, many times. A few days after that, he sent an email, Tom Shen, who is, I think, the owner, I'm not sure, of Rephr, and said, let me explain what these brushes are about. Thank you so much, because I was going to do a giveaway, because I thought I had them all. Rephr is an unusual brand in that you can buy their brushes for the price online. You can see it right there. It's fairly average. It's not too high. It's not very low. Or you can pay significantly less if you agree to give feedback on the brush that you are buying. They have hit the milestone of 100,000 input. People 100,000 times have gotten to them and say, this is what I think of this brush, and this is what I think of that brush. And one thing that they were hearing over and over again, both from two sides of the fence, is please make these brushes, their most popular brushes, bigger and, put my hand in the frame, smaller. So that's what they did. Instead of going for one or the other, they made bigger versions and smaller versions, and I thought it would be really interesting to take a look at each of them. I have them all laid out so we can see the differences, and then I'm going to do one eye with the larger one and one eye with the smaller one. I was thinking immediately, being that I have smaller eyes and I'm hooded, I'm going to want the smaller set. But I always think, when you know for sure this is what you're going to do, probably better to investigate further, because you might be pleasantly surprised. It's like when you go shopping in a mall, right? As opposed to online. Sometimes I would pick up something that I knew, or I believed, this is not going to suit my shape, and I'm surprised that it does. Same thing with brushes. So that's what we're going to do today, you guys. Let me start bringing them in, and we shall talk. So this is the Rephr Mini 01, and this is the regular 01, and this is the big 01. There you go. Pinch ferrules, same shape. Of course, this one has had some use and looks like it's dirty, but I'm telling you it's not. And those are the 01s. Let me just show it to you this way. There you go. This is my 02, and this is the mini 02, and this is the large 02. Now, I don't know that I actually use this brush a whole lot, but I do use it from time to time. It is a flat brush, and of course it has been used, so it looks a little fuller. But this one, I think, the mini, looks even thinner. It's great for a couple of things, like little work under here, but generally these kinds of brushes are oftentimes used for glitters and shimmers and Natasha Denona palettes and Pat McGrath palettes, those kind of things. And that is the 02. Mini, the regular, and the new one. This is my 13 brush. I'm telling you, it's not really that dirty. This could be dirty. It's possible. Here is the mini. Now, to me, this looks like a dream because of my eyes being small. And this is the large one, the Maxi. Now, I will say, even though I wouldn't use the Maxi the same way I would use the Mini, or the one that I already own, it does look like an interesting shape to do some work where my crease is. Well, I can feel my orbital bone here, and if I wanted to get it, but not go too high up, that might be fabulous. I think I'm in love. Okay, wait a minute. This is my 14. Looks like yay. It's a round ferrule. This is the mini 14. Look at that. That is very, very exciting. And then the Maxi also looks exciting. Different uses, like this, because it's a bit of a candlestick, right through here, back and forth, where this would be detail work. So this is really interesting, and there's a closer look for you. And you can just pause and do a screenshot if you want to help you get a better idea. So this is the last set, and it's the 15. I don't have the 15 in regular, so this is the 15 Mini Round Ferrule and the 15 Maxi. And this, for me, the Maxi, I would use all over the lid. Just lay something down, and, ooh, this might be good for concealer. Yeah, because it has that candlestick, and this might be as well. These also might be great for, well, I got a little redness here, I want to do an extra covering up, and let's just give this a try. And, you know, a brush is a brush is a brush. Lisa Eldridge actually uses brushes from the craft store for covering blemishes and whatnot, but just want to add a little bit right here, but you won't want to mess up anything else. Very nice. Alright, I'm going to clean this up. We are going to get a palette, and we're going to do a look. The same look, hopefully, on each eye. I don't know what I'm going to do, but we're going to use, as I said, the large one and the small one. Okay, obviously, to use all these brushes, I'm going to need to do a complicated eye, not a one and done. And I thought, let's do the Natasha Denona palette because I do love it so much. And I was asked to do a couple of more looks on this, but the truth is, because I'm using brushes I'm unsure of, I'm not sure how to use them, I think I'm going to go for the look that I do kind of most often, but I might make it a little more layered. So I'm going with a Maxi brush, and this is the 15, and this color right here for all over the lid. I do have concealer on my lids, and I didn't powder it, so this will kind of act as the powder. I probably took a lot of that concealer off. For my skin tone, this is a very skin tony kind of color, so ideal for just making sure everything's dry. I don't like a tacky lid. It makes it very hard to blend. And now I'm taking the Mini. So the Mini for this application, and a brush, you know, do with what you want with brushes. Certainly a lot of brands will tell you this is a crease brush, or this is this brush or that brush, detail brush. But you can just use them how you want. For me, this one, great for all over because it's big. This one is a completely different brush, even though they're the same shape. For me, I think this brush will be better, you know, doing something, deepening up the outer edge kind of a situation. That's the first brush. This is so fascinating. Already I've kind of figured out that these brushes are different. The sizes makes them different, makes the application different. Now I'm going to go on with the Mini 01 and just give myself a little definition in my so-called crease. I'm going to do it with this color here. And of course, brand new brushes that have not had anything on them, haven't been washed. They are a little bit different than, as you can see from my other brushes, brushes that have been used. But I'm just going to kind of draw myself a socket. I see where it's supposed to be. And that's really, really nice. It's not leaving a hard line, so I don't feel like I have to blend up here. But I do feel like I got a little bit kind of a socket, especially when I do this. See that socket? Eyes are open, definitely an improvement. This eye looks so much bigger. So that is the Mini 01, and that's a really good use for it. And I'm going to try to do the same thing with the Maxi 01. Oh no, I had Maxi on this side for the first thing. I mean, does it matter? I guess it does. Okay, this side's going to be Maxi because putting that one color all over, it doesn't matter, right? So that was a Maxi, but now I'm moving the Maxi over to this side. And same thing, just kind of close the eye and draw where my crease would be if I have one. And I pulled it a little bit higher. I'd say for my lids, I like the mini better for this application, which doesn't mean that this wouldn't be useful to me for something else, but like I said, I'm not going to say it 14 more times, but because the sizes are so different, the application can be different. They'll all be useful to me, but in different ways. That's what I'm thinking. In a way, I think the difference between the 13 and the 14th is that this is more rounded at the top and this is more candlestick at the top. So I think I'm going to start with the rounded one, which again is the 13. And the candlesticks, I find, can give you the opportunity to have even more detail. I'm going to take the maxi one first, and I'm going a little bit darker with this shade on the outer edge. But I also feel because it's blunted and rounded at this area, I could actually just go a little bit deeper right here, but more specifically. Do you know what I mean? So the first color gave me a generalized shadow, and now this one will give me a more pronounced, but very specific shadow, which again will play into that I'm not hooded game that I like to play. And now with the Mini 13, same thing, although I think the Mini 13 is something I really want to use for detail work out here. I'm going to use it in the same manner. Now with this, instead of going straight on like this where I'm just transferring that powder, I am going to go back and forth, because if I had gone back and forth with the bigger brush, I was afraid that it would get too high and be too diffused and not give me that definite look of having a socket. So different looks, you can see. This is much more specific and this is a little bit more blown out. I think both work. And if you wanted to do a dramatic look for night, you know, there's that graphic eye situation, but not with a liner, this kind of brush will really help you out there. And this one is the 13 Mini. Now we're going to pick up the 14s, and those are the ones that kind of have that candlestick look, and I'm going even darker. Although I do want to do a big blend. With a big blend, I want something as fluffy as possible, so I'm going back to the 16, and I guess I should get a mirror I can look into, and just very gently, because I don't want to move the color everywhere, and I think I need to tweeze, but I just want it to be softer. I'm using a very, very light hand. Okay, and that was the 15 Max. Now, let's go even darker. And we're going to go in with this shade here, and this is the Mini. Let's see. Outer corner. And this just kind of continues that look of giving the eye some definition. And softly towards the lash line. And I'm working it on the side, but now I'm going to dip in again at the tip and go right at the lash line. I'm going to just dab this and do a little more blending. Okay, deepening up with the Mini on this side. Now, how are we going to do the same thing? Again, I think this is a brush that will be useful to me, but for what the Mini just did, I'm just taking a little bit on the tip. And instead of using the side of the brush, I am going to just use the tip. But I don't think I'm going to be successful getting it right at the lash line. And now it's a little bit on the side just for the blend. Okay, that was harder. I feel like when I look at this eye, it looks so specific And this eye, not as much. Of course, my eyes are different from side to side. My tear duct gland protrudes right here. I mean, you can make it work for doing the same thing, but for me, I think what I would rather do with the Maxi 14 is clean it and then kind of go back and forth right here with the eye open. I think that would work for hooded or small lids for this brush. So very different uses from the small one to the large one. So now we have the O2. These are the flat brushes, and this is the mini, and I think I'm going to love it. This color is so, so, so stunning. I have used it before on my last video, well, my only video that I did with the Denona palette, but what else could we do? I think I'm going to go on with this one. Now this looks like it's small enough for me to do an inner corner highlight. So maybe I shouldn't have gone on with the dark. But I was just looking to see what can I get with a little color, a little shimmer on the lid. And you know what? I think this one would be better for inner corner. It'll fit right in there. And if I want to put a little shimmer right at the inner corner of the lash line. So I'm going to just get this clean and give it a minute to dry, and we'll try that on the other eye. Clean. But first, let's use the big one, the Maxi 02. We're going in with the same color and same thing. Of course, this is better for all over the lid. Just makes more sense. So I think this one, the O2 Maxi, it doesn't matter how big your eyes are or how small your eyes are, is good for on top of the lid very, very nicely. And now, it's not 100% dry, but that's okay. Now we're going to go on with something kind of pretty and lighter. Let's do this one. And a little inner corner fits perfectly as I thought it would. Ideal. Okay. All right, let me put on some mascara and put on some brows, and honestly, all I have on is foundation, so let me put on everything else. And we'll come back and talk. All right, I'm back. Little mascara, a little brows, a little blush, a little lip, and that's it. Very, very neutral day. What do I think? I think the same thing that I kept on saying over and over again, which is the larger version brush isn't necessarily the same brush as the smaller version brush. They are when you look at them, but how I use them is oftentimes different, but not always. I love them all. I gotta tell you, to me, brushes are tools, and it really, really matters, especially when it comes to eye brushes. If you think of your eyes as a painting, you know, you don't go on with the same brush for every single stroke. Well, I guess it depends on what kind of painter you are. But anyway, for me, for brushes, I like having a nice variety to choose from so I can get something very specific if I need to. I don't think too many people are going to look at my eyes and say, oh, they look wildly different from each other because of my application, just because of the fact that they are wildly different. But I think they are lovely brushes, and now you have seen them in action so you can get an idea of how they work and how they might work for you and which brushes you want to get. I will link everything I know down below. I do have a code with Rephr, so be sure to take advantage of that. And that's going to wrap up today's video. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. I hope it was helpful. I hope you come back again. And until we meet again, be safe and smart. And I'm wishing you good health.